Good afternoon. It's just a little after 4 on December 3rd, 2019. I'd like to call the meeting of the Ways and Means Committee to order. Could you take the roll, please?
Here.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Here.
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 First on the agenda will be the minutes from 11/5/19.
Motion. So moved.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is public input. If anybody from the public would like to step forward and speak, this would be the proper time to do that. Perfect. Seeing no one, we'll move on to petitions and communications. First up will be the 2020 Bay County budget, which is a separate attachment. We'll need a motion to refer this to the full board for passage.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
I'm opposed to per diem pay for commissioners, number 20.
Thank you.
That's all I say. I've said it for 15 years.
Commissioner Kuhn.
One-trick pony. I got a couple of questions here. The golf course, I didn't see anything in there. I kind of went through this, and I did not see anything in there in regards to exchanging carts. Is that something that we're not going to do, or? I thought we had a program there.
We
We don't have a plan at the moment to exchange any more carts. We bought the carts a handful of years, just about 2 years ago. It was about, they're still under warranty. We're still sitting pretty good with carts. There isn't a need today for any, so there's none in the budget.
And then I saw the indirect charge to the golf course was significantly reduced.
I can't answer that as to why I saw that also, but that is
It would be Jane.
So one of our long-term employees left the golf course, which would have had more of an indirect attachment to that golf course expense side of it. So I would assume, I don't have it in front of me, but I would assume that's the majority of where it came from. So those, again, are based on 2-year-old costs. So our current year is based on 18 costs. So whatever happened in 18, I know we had a big payout for that employee, which shouldn't have affected, but will affect it overall. So there's less of a liability that will show up in that indirect line item.
Okay.
I can get you detail on it as to what actual line items it actually, because it's a combination of all of the internal service funds where it's charged.
Okay, and in the treasurer's budget, I saw there was an increase of $165,000. Was that due to maybe some of the TIFAs, whether it's Monitor or Bangor? What was the reason for that?
That was just the adjustment to the increase of the, what we believe the increased taxes would be.
Okay.
So that it has nothing to do with the DDA portion or any of that. None of that is budgeted.
It was just when you came out with the budget, it's just a better number that you're comfortable with.
Yes, when Kelly came up with the new amount, we adjusted it as we go along. So when we got the final numbers, that's...
And then one last thing. It would be the fairgrounds. I don't think they proposed $7,500 and administration supported that. And it's to replace those bleachers and put a berm in there.
7,500, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Yeah.
Did I say 7,500?
No.
Yeah. You know, at some point, we need to look at that as a capital project, because those bleachers are probably significantly more apt to have an accident versus, get rid of them, they're old. I don't even know if anybody goes in them anymore, but they're probably pretty dangerous. But we should, if it's not this year, we should look to, for $7,500, get rid of the bleachers, put a berm there that looks better and is probably a lot safer, and insurance-wise, it's probably a whole lot better for the county than to have somebody get hurt on some bleachers.
Yeah, Commissioner Coon, I think that's in the process. Kristen, did you want to speak to that? I believe we're going with a berm, correct?
Well, it was in the executive recommended budget, but I don't believe that's in the commission recommended budget. But just to clarify, this is the bleachers, not the grandstands. And so the grandstands are the big cement ones that are white that you see out there. There are bleachers next to it. And the bleachers is what we wanted to tear down and create a berm, but it is not currently in the commission recommended budget. But that doesn't mean we can't try to search for some grant funding or maybe work with the fair board or, we'll try to be as creative as possible.
Do they still use that, those bleachers?
Oh, yeah.
And that grandstand can't be,
Oh, the grandstands, yep, and we get it inspected periodically and it's still being used, yep. They use it they have tractor pulls and car races and
Demolition derbies.
demolition derbies, things of that nature.
but if we see something that maybe we could improve upon, and the $7,500 wasn't a whole lot of money, maybe to start making that area a little safer. I would kind of think if it's not this year or next year, we should probably seriously consider doing that.
We're in a long-term lease with the Fair Board. The Fair Board has access to grants from the Department of Agriculture. And that was discussed when the board decided to give the long-term lease to the Fair Board, that they would actively go after grants.
Okay.
So maybe they can come in some meeting and tell us what they've been applied for.
Commissioner Durancheck.
I think didn't they receive wasn't it 40?
Yeah, $57,000
$57,000
Department of Ag grant for a new roof for the horse barn.
So maybe
We're very
they
happy with that.
reapply, like
Every year.
Bob said, yeah.
Anyone else? Commissioner Begic.
I was at a Michigan Association of Counties meeting today, and some of the counties are doing alternative budgets or two budgets because they don't know if there'd be funding available from the state. Now, one of the staff people down there thinks they're going to have it settled by Christmas, so it may not be necessary, but in the case they don't get a budget and we don't get the money, do we have any plans for reduced funding, I guess would be the issue. No alternative budget. Yeah, and they're planning to lay people off then too. I think they get the money.
Because the answer isn't to keep taking money out of fund balance, because we're kind of draining it now. We have a good fund balance, but it doesn't take long. In the original budget, we were going to take $1.3 million out, and I think we got it down to 600 and some thousand. And usually we don't spend all that. So.
Anyone else? Seeing that we have motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you. Motion passes. For the Bay County Clerk, the election laptops.
So moved.
Support. Discussion.
The state, the townships and cities are supposed to pay for this equipment. I was wondering if we shouldn't be sending them a bill, putting a revenue in here. The state, as you recall, a couple of years ago, bought equipment for the whole state. And they made a decision on what we needed, each county. And so any additional equipment is reimbursed by the cities and the townships.
I'll, motion or.
Does anybody else?
Can the clerk answer that?
Cindy, would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Board. Cindy Luzak, Bay County Clerk. To give you a little history of the voting equipment, in 2005, the state of Michigan provided us with a new voting system covered by the HAVA dollars, Help America Vote Act dollars. Excuse me, so that was federally funded in 2005. In 2010, they came out with the electronic poll book system where we use the laptops. That is the step of the process in voting. When you walk into your voting place, you hand the official your driver's license, it's swiped and registered in the computer and shows you're a registered qualified voter before you go to the next step of voting to get your ballot. So these were paid for in 2010 by the state, and then again in 2017 we were provided new voting equipment again. under the Help America Vote Act. And what we received in 2017 was to the tune of $500,000. So there have been funds out there in the past. We have been lucky enough to receive them, as well as other counties throughout the state of Michigan, but those funds are nearly depleted, and these laptops are from 2010. So we're at a position where we need not take the risk of these failing next year when we have 4 major elections. We have the presidential primary in March, that's the 10th of March. We have an election in May, potentially August and November. So not only will these laptops being distributed to our locals be reliable and quicker and compliant with our new software upgrades we're doing next week, we will have the ability to have double laptops in the polls. So we'll still try to use the old equipment that we have, as well as put in new laptops whereby we can set up our polling precincts to have 2 check-in lines where people show their identification and then move on to get their ballot and vote. Or we will use these laptops as we're encouraging our townships and cities to set up a help desk where people coming into the polls, if they're not sure if they're in the right precinct, or they're not sure they're registered to vote, or they have an issue or a question, can go to the laptop at the help desk where an individual can help them before they get in line and cause a problem or bottleneck our lines of people knowing they're registered, knowing that we can push them through quicker. We're taking a lot of preparations right now for 2020. We don't know what to expect under the passage of Proposal 3, which created no reason absentee ballot, same-day registration, last-minute registration. These laptops hold the information of our registered voters, and they can make or break our polling places pretty much. They can cause a problem and cause us to bottleneck and back up, or we can, at this cost of $28,000, which is a lot, we're getting a lot for our money. This is the purchase of up to 40 laptops, and I've worked with the IT officials in the IT department to give us a good product for our money. So it's not a lot of money for what we're getting, and it's going to eliminate a lot of problems for us.
Commissioner Coonan?
I'm confident with that.
I think Bob's question was who's paying for them?
I have the
County's paying
funds.
for them, or
I have the
with
funds in my
with
election
the-
budget from this year that weren't spent on other things.
Who normally pays for that stuff?
The state's supposed to, I mean, I agree with their idea of what, to get the equipment and make it one piece of equipment everybody in all the townships and cities have. It's just a matter of who should be paying for it.
That's the question.
That's federal money.
I think we ought to build it's certainly more efficient to do it this way. Yes, but I think we ought to build the cities and townships with the equipment to get.
This would be my recommendation. This is my requested purchase. They would probably not do it, Bob, if they knew they had to purchase it. They would probably not do it, and then we're going to have issues. We will have, we could potentially have issues out there that would reflect on the county.
If we buy the equipment, can't we send them a bill and we'll see if they, can always get it deducted from the tax that they're entitled to.
I think we're getting a great rate by purchasing 40 laptops at a time. If they were to go out and buy their own somewhere else, they're paying a lot more money. We have compatibility issues, we have state requirements. The state of Michigan loads some of the software onto this for security measures. So,
Commissioner Durancheck?
I just have a question. So if somebody comes in and they're going to be able, according, if I got this right with this proposal, they're going to be able to come in and right there at the poll and say, I want to vote today?
yes. And we have a process that they have to follow, but.
So then
yes.
I can see where you could end up with a bottleneck. You got new voters, I forgot to register, and they're all lined up.
In the past, they were required to register 30 days in advance of an election, which gave our local city and township clerks time to process the paperwork, to get them into the computer. Not now. they're going to be put in the computer that day if they walk in and register. It's same-day registration. So we're potentially going to use some of these laptops to set up the help desk area, where if you're a new voter, and the point of it is a lot of people do not vote in any election beside the presidential election. There are people that only come out every 4 years to vote. So these are the people that are going to hold up our lines of people who know the system, know to have their identification ready, know they live here, have no problem, want to walk in and out and not have to wait an extra half an hour behind somebody who's not met the criteria to move the line quick.
Commissioner Coonan, do you have another question?
Yeah, has there been a practice established with the purchase of equipment for the cities and townships in the past?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, it has to be
Not
some
for-
sort of practice. Either they pay for it or they don't.
They haven't paid for it. It's been provided by the state. The state of Michigan has paid for,
But the state's not paying now. We're paying.
correct.
So you establish a practice, we should at least try to bill them and establish that practice so that the county's not absorbing all those costs. Everybody pays their fair share.
Is that, yeah, Commissioner Ryder?
You know, it sounds really good, but all I can think of is this, the clerk mentioned, well, they're not going to use the new equipment, they're going to use the old equipment. Then again, some would pay maybe and some wouldn't pay. And it seems to me that it's like butting heads. And we're striving for efficiency, right? I mean, with the new laws that have passed. I'm not against recouping the money, but if they just decide, hey, I'm not paying, then what, right? And those that do pay, and then you got them fighting back and forth, and I don't think it's the best thing that can happen for them. So I just assume bite the bullet on this one and strive for efficiency.
Do you have a, yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I just had a question based on the commissioner's questions, and that is, it's my understanding based on the memo that this equipment would not necessarily be owned by the different townships, it would still be owned by the clerk. And I'm just wondering in terms of software licensing and whatnot, it would be very difficult if the county says we're buying these, but we're then going to charge the townships, because then if each individual township owns the computer, then you have a licensing problem as opposed to just saying the county's going to pay for it and it's going to remain the of the clerk. It would be cleaner.
That's fine. And I can recall it at any time. It could be under my jurisdiction, it could be under my property ownership. The state of Michigan is going to load the software on that we need for all of them anyway, so.
Mr. Barshit?
Yeah, Cindy, do you have funds that were provided by the federal government under HAVA? What are you referring to? Your operational budget for the clerk's office?
Correct.
To purchase the
Correct.
40 laptops?
I have an election.
So you have that much funding available?
And we've been very fortunate. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate. In 2017, when we did receive our equipment provided by the state, you know, Bay County being the first one in Michigan to go countywide as a pilot and accept this and start putting it to the test, we were given extra equipment at the time. I mean, we've been given some perks. We've been given an extra voting machine or two at $5,000 each because we're on the one. We get our paperwork in, we offer to be the pilot, we meet deadlines with the state grant programs that no other county can meet. We've gotten our fair share and more of state and federal dollars to pay for our voting equipment. If you look back in our county budget, there's been little or no money spent on equipment out of the county general fund.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea because for some of the reasons most of the reasons that you say that in the past 10 years, there's been such a consolidation of polling places within the county, you know, where instead of every precinct now, every ward has a polling place. And I know down in the south end, the line can get quite long, and I'm sure it does at other places too. And I think this is like one of those perfect storms, like you mentioned, because of the new laws that have gone into effect, and we don't know what to expect. And you don't want, you know, we like to try to keep the voters happy. You know, this is their county. And I think at this point, this is probably the best way to do it. My opinion is the best way to do it is the way we're going forward with this right now. But that's my opinion, so.
We have some very large townships where their electorate like to go to the polls. Very large townships. Frankenless Township, their community like to go to the polls. They like to see their neighbors and friends. They like to come out. They are not an AV township. Beaver Township. Beaver Township's almost to its maximum capacity. And as small as their township hall is, the residents like to go and vote in person. Monitor Township. There are certain precincts of Bangor where they like to go to the poll. Absentee voting is not their choice. So we know where these are. We target them and make our life easier. And we're trying to take whatever safeguard measure we can to prepare for next year. This might just be the first of other requests that I have. We are going to have to gear up.
I think it's a very good idea, and it's probably the most efficient way to do it. I just wish we would collect from the townships and cities after she gets the equipment.
Yeah, I think like Amber said, everything meshing together be kind of difficult, you know, at this point. But I'm still, and I know what you're saying, but this is to me, it's a different kind of circumstance. I'd still be in favor of it. Any other comments?
We tried that a little bit with 911 when we went with radios. You know, we got a grant, and the county provided a certain amount, or was able to get a certain amount of discount on the radios, and then it was up to the townships or cities to pony up their half. A lot of them didn't buy radios.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep. I know.
Even though they had a discounted price. So I really think this is a good idea to get everybody on the same board. I don't know that we're going to get people to pay. It's something that if we're going to do this in the future, they need to have future expenditures, just like we like to have ahead of time, so we don't get, you know, changes to our budget and allocate those dollars ahead of time. So, you know, I'm fine with it coming out of it.
Okay. Well set? Okay. Thanks, Cindy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, register of deeds travel request.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, before we close out on this, I just wanted to come and talk a little bit about this. So PREA is the national standards for Property Record Industry Association. And since we've been going down to PREA, we've been doing some pretty amazing things here at Bay County. We are nationally recognized for the technology that we're using here in Bay County. We often get calls from people in other states, Texas, Providence, Rhode Island, I mean, just places all over that I've met people, and they're actually calling us and asking us what we're doing for technology and how we're protecting the records that we have for land transactions here in Bay County, which I think is pretty huge, that we are recognized nationally. The small county of Bay County with 100,000 population is known nationally for the technology that we're using. Right now, I'm the chairman of a ransomware project that we're working on with PREA. So right now, I'm representing Bay County nationally on how to write the standards and then a ransomware attack. So let's say we were attacked with ransomware. How would we handle that? How would we prevent it? The things, the steps that we're taking to make sure that our land records are secure. These are things that we're doing here at Bay County that are being nationally recognized. So I just want you guys to realize that when we're making these trips down to Providence, Rhode Island, or Austin, Texas, we are actually representing the country in land title. So I think it's something, a pretty big accomplishment to make here.
Commissioner Lutz.
So with all your pull, can you get that conference to come to Bay County?
It would be nice, wouldn't it? It would be really nice. If we had a bigger airport right here, we probably could pull it off, but not many people are going to fly in the MBS. So that's what they look for. They look for major towns that have airports that can host the conference, and unfortunately, Bay County is probably just not going to be on the radar for them. But yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to have everybody here. Yeah. But I just wanted to give you a brief update.
Commissioner Begic.
At the MAC meeting today, we talked about IT and ransomware and what all the counties are doing, and if they have a specific IT person, or how they're handling it. And we had a seminar at one of our meetings about ransomware, and I think Genesee County was attacked by ransomware a few years ago, and they had to pay money out to get their data back, so we need to be real careful.
We actually, the setup that we have in place at the registered deeds here at Bay County, we can be attacked. We can open up an email and get ransomware attacked, and they're going to send us an email saying, hey, give us $1 million or we're going to distribute your records all over the place. And we're going to say, go ahead. Because you know what? We're going to be up and running within 24 hours. This has happened for 4 or 5 months where they can't even get in their computers. They can't log on the next day. We actually have a software system set up to where 24 hours, we're back up and running. The rest of the county could be down. And unfortunately, if they haven't taken the safeguards in the other departments, they could be down for 6 months. With the registered deeds office, we're going to be running 24 hours, which I think is a huge accomplishment. I mean, we just got everything in place to make sure that those land records will never be harmed. So, just wanted to give you a brief update. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, again, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just wanted to thank and compliment Brandon Kraus for the leadership you're providing on this issue, and I know Julie and I talk about this in the ISD staff. We're very concerned about being hacked, and county governments of late have been being attacked across the country. So that ransomware is a serious issue, and thanks for doing what you're doing. Hopefully, Julie, that will have that kind of protection for all the county records, but
I know Julie's been working on this very, very conscientiously too, and she's got a very good program in place and actually training a lot of the staff members of different departments on ransomware. Actually had the FBI come in and train us as well. Julie's been doing an outstanding job here for Bay County and is educating people on ransomware and trying to protect everybody as well.
I agree, and thank you, Brandon, for all you're doing. Thanks.
Okay, we'll try it. Third time. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under D, personnel and employee relations. The agreement with Covenant Occupational Health for random drug alcohol testing for positions requiring commercial driver's license.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
I assume we went out for bids on this, because I work at another place that does this testing too, so I
I
wouldn't.
think it's the same thing we had last year. Who, do we have anybody here that knows about this?
Yeah, I think it was, what, $75?
Yeah, it's
A year.
it's $80 a year, so it's not required to go out for bid. We did check with a couple other local sources, McLaren being one of them, and they told them that they did not offer a consortium.
I think this is,
My other company is pretty small, so they might not have been able to handle the volume.
because we only have like a couple people who have these licenses, right? Yeah.
There's only 5.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Labor agreements.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The 85-15 split for healthcare 2020.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Begic.
I'm sure we publicize this to our unions that we do this every year, that other counties don't do it. I'm sure you've talked about it a lot, but, other counties don't do it.
That's
We
correct.
do.
Yeah, most don't do it.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she brings it up daily.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The amendment to agreement for Bay County Wellness Center 2020 to 2022.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Coonan.
I think I've said this just about every year. It's a great program that was implemented a number of years ago. It's pretty difficult to see exactly how much money we save, but we know getting people who may not have gone to the doctor for a copay or whatever it was, now going to the doctor. It's a great program. I'll give you guys credit for bringing it back to us, and I think it does help in the long run, and it benefits the employees too. That's a great negotiating tool as well. And just like the previous 85-15, I'm sure you use that in negotiations. You probably use them both in negotiations, which shows that we do care about our employees. So, good job.
Anyone else? No. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. From the Director of Recreation and Facilities, a donation to the Civic Arena Skate Program.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor of Building and Grounds, a Center Avenue stepped landing project.
So moved.
Support. Who wants to support it? Commissioner, you want to support that?
Well, I have a question.
Okay, well, I'll support it first.
I'll support it.
Oh, good, thanks, because I said I was going to and I can't. Thank you. Commissioner Krieger.
So we had problems with the steps, correct?
There's our
And so
guy.
are the people that originally did the installation, they're the ones coming back to do it over again?
Yes,
And the money we didn't spend from the last,
2018 did not roll to 2019.
okay. So the funds are still there to have it done again?
Right, and they haven't been paid yet.
Okay. Okay,
Commissioner Kunis?
thank you.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of low bid, number one. Secondly, now Johnny said that the city hasn't inspected them yet. Is that an issue?
They have inspected them. There's an issue with the handrails, which are original to the building. It's not, the height that's a big issue because it should be at a height of 34 inches, and that's ADA compliance. The issue is it's not consistent. The rise isn't consistent all the way up the steps. So we may have 33 at the bottom, we've got 32 at the top. And that's it.
And they could require you to make a change on that.
Well, they want it to be consistent, so I've got to modify, the handrails have to be modified on the front.
Is that something we can do?
It is, and I've got to get, Tim Feddick's looking at that. I'm still talking to the contractor about what we're going to do to satisfy the city inspector. Now, I've gone to each handrail throughout the building here, and they're all at a height that's pretty consistent throughout the building, 32, 34 inches, which wasn't standard back then, 32, 34, when the building was built. The codes, construction codes weren't developed fully at that point. We had codes, but ADA wasn't really an issue back then, but.
So the steps are the same basically, they're just being redone?
The steps were installed. I wasn't happy with them. They came back and tore them all. And it's the second floor there.
And they're not charging us for?
No. So that's where the delay came. I wasn't happy with it, and I told them that's not acceptable. They came back and reported the steps and the landing.
Nothing's changing but the handrails, so the city is still looking
They
at...
reset the handrails, and they weren't paying much attention to the rise, the consistency, the height. They reset them.
Okay.
Commissioner Lutz.
That's what I was going to ask, if they actually pulled the old handrails and reset them, or if they're in the same, they didn't have to do that, but
And they are.
they did, but did it incorrectly.
Okay. Seeing no one else, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. From the Director of Administrative Services, the BCTV sponsorship agreements.
So moved.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
Just have a question. If we go to other entities like the school or the city every year, or do we ask them periodically if they want to sign on again or become part of it, or have we just been sort of keeping it in the county? I don't know if that was a...
Who wants to answer that question?
All I can do is ask.
I'm looking over for my to my trustee, to Nick, who deals directly with these individuals. I don't know if it's something that they actively pursue. Typically, because they go to the schools, so the schools that have those sporting events or things, that's pretty consistent. So, but we have to do it every school year. It's not the calendar year, so that's why the request comes up kind of at different times. But
Thank you.
Are you good with that answer, Commissioner Begic?
Yes. I should ask them probably, but I want to keep it internal. Right?
Seeing no one else, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. MMRMA renewal.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Coon.
Now, that's a nice chunk of change. Is that going to be put in the 2020 budget?
That for the increase?
No, for the money that's coming back to us.
The money that's coming back, the net asset distribution, generally stays with MMRMA. That consistently has been past practice. It gets reinvested.
Oh, I thought they gave us money periodically.
They do. Well, what they do is at the end of the year, they say this is how much money we currently have that we can give you for your net asset distribution. We have historically kept it in that account to continue to earn the interest.
And then periodically, annually, they give us, or we apply for a grant from them and usually get something from them, from that money, correct?
It is not from that money. That is directly from MMRMA. That's at no cost to us. So we can apply for CAP grants,
Yeah.
for RAP grants, and we receive those funds directly from MMRMA. That is at no cost.
So that money is our money that they're investing?
Yes.
Okay.
And the RAP and CAP grant money that we get is technically MMRMA money. That's just a benefit that we get as a member.
Okay.
Commissioner Lutz, did you have something?
Yeah, so what happens over the years with that money if we continually put it in this fund? Where does it go?
It still is currently invested. At any point in time, if the county makes a determination that they need to pull any portion of that, all they need to do is notify MMRMA and they would issue a check.
Do we know the balance?
Do we know how much is in there?
Well, that's...
Approximately 700,000.
So I would bet our...
Just a second. Commissioner Krieger, you're up next.
And that was my question. What is our balance?
It's a little over 700,000.
Okay, Commissioner Coonan?
So I bet our premium's based upon what we got in reserves.
No, our premium is based on our risk factors. We go through a relatively lengthy application process. We had some increased points that were assessed to us this year because historically in the past, we had not included our non-MPOL certified but armed part-time law enforcement officers. We have, I believe, 21 additional Marine Patrol and Snowmobile Patrol officers that currently were not covered under the policy. We attempted to include them last year for the first time because we noted that they hadn't historically been included, so if there had been a claim, we would not have been covered. For whatever reason, MMRMA forgot to include them in the analysis, so we got them for free last year. They caught their error this year, which is what is accounting for the increase. And because of that, they've actually changed their application format in order to put non-MPOL certified but armed part-time employees in their application process.
Now, one last question. If that's our money, do we have that in our budget as undesignated or something that we're seeing that as our money?
I don't believe that does.
Okay. No one else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. H, Director of Department on Aging, a donation from Consumers Energy employees and the company.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A grant award from Census 2020 Partnership Fund, the Bay Area Community Foundation.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. From the Health Officer, a grant agreement with MDEGLE for certain services.
So moved.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The 2020 marijuana grants.
So moved.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The amendment for the MDEGLE grant extension.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The amendment to the CPBC agreement.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The Census grant.
So moved.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payables, general and center reserves.
So moved.
Or,
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. From the finance officer, budget adjustments.
so moved.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The analysis of the 2019 general fund equity, motion to receive is ordered.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Executive Directive number 2007-11, update, motion to receive.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The ISD Time Clock Plus Agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Lutz.
Yeah, reading this over, it says that only 25% of our employees are covered by time clock.
Well, the time clocks were initially put in place when the Affordable Care Act required us to produce documents for part-time staff. So over at the juvenile home, they use time clocks for the most part, and I believe that they may be one of the only ones that are using it.
So, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish with the upgrade is we've worked with the undersheriff and the juvenile home, and the undersheriff and personnel have received a demo of the new system, and we're going to try to implement it to cover about 165 employees who would be using the time clock. And then their information will electronically be available then for payroll. So it's a little bit more than 2550. So it's a little bit more than 25% of employees.
Right, so is there a move to increase that number?
Well, what we're looking to do is put in new time clocks where there's already time clocks, because we already had licensing for those number of employees. It costs at least $5,000. I'd have to look at the numbers. I don't have the number on hand. But it costs about $5,000 per time clock, I believe. I'd have to pull the numbers. And then licensing for each employee.
Okay.
So it ends up being pretty expensive.
Commissioner Coonan.
Now, you said 165, that's not 20, what do we have, about 300 full-time, and how many what's our numbers on employees?
We have about 500 between full-time, part-time, and on-call staff.
Full-time part. Wouldn't it be cheaper? I mean, I can see where the Affordable Care Act, it's got about 29 hours, over 29 hours, but if it's that expensive of a deal, you got somebody over there monitoring, somebody's got to be monitoring somebody, because you got 75% of the people that don't punch in. So why would we not want to just get rid of them completely?
Well, we could. It was just a budgeted project to do in 2019.
Pardon?
It was a budgeted project to do in 2019.
These time
because-
clocks?
Yes, because the time clocks that we have we need new equipment to be supported.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, wouldn't it not be cheaper just to get rid of the time clocks and people come to work when they're supposed to come to work?
So I think that the reason that the time clocks were initially installed over at the juvenile home was to replace, I think, some outdated time clocks and such. And then we also had them put in place for some of the seasonal staff, because the concern was that it's not about the self-reporting, but it is quite repetitive, because they were writing on a time clock, they were then calculating it, the supervisor was then calculating it, and there was always errors and issues in place. So it was just a matter of making it more efficient for the seasonal staff. And as far as the juvenile home, they had some clocks in place, they were just replaced, and then since the ACA requires us to document part-time staff hours and be able to run reports, Julie just had the full-time staff punch at the same time, because she has the clock there and they're doing the same job.
Don't we have not that problem with people, the other 75%, writing their time in and having it more difficult for people to?
Well, they're using it, most of the staff in the county are using Excel sheets now that were formulated between IT and payroll, so that they can input it and it self-calculates.
Sure. 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock, right? What do you call that?
So
10 o'clock?
I think one of the things that we like about the new time clock system is that it's going to make payroll for these 165 employees more electronic. So they're actually not filling out the Excel spreadsheets that the other employees fill out. And then it should help and reduce time spending calculating someone's overtime cost. Because there's shift differential in our.
Just asking why it's 25% punch in and 75% don't. That's the only question I was asking. That's all right.
Yeah.
You answered, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. From the ISD, the maintenance agreement and cost.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another one from ISD, the agreement with Core Technology Corporation.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any referrals? Is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Is there need for closed session?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would request a motion to go into closed session for labor negotiations pursuant to RCO 13.268 subsection C.
Thank you. We need to take a roll call for that, please.
Yes.
I think you have to do that, ma'am? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I thought so.
Krieger.
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Yes.
Durant? Sure.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
You guys just go out for lunch?
So, would you like to make a motion, ma'am, so we can follow?
Yes, I would request a motion to follow the recommendation of the Personnel Director as noted in closed session to the language of the General Appropriations Budget Act resolution.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, any miscellaneous? Commissioner Begic.
So MAC, Michigan Association of Counties, had a board meeting today. The budget is still at an impasse, but one of their staff people thinks it'll be settled by the end of the year, we're hoping. The jail, let's see, which one is it? The jail issue or road control? One of them's up for, there's still some disagreement on one of those, the funding for that. There are some supplemental bills that are out there that will be passed once they have the agreement in place with the governor to not move the money around, if that happens. Opioid thing is still moving along. The states, a lot of states are trying to take over, get the money, collect the money and not give any to the counties. So MAC is working on that, trying to get the counties the money. We'll see how that works out. A few other things going on, but that's about it for now.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
Commissioner Durant.
This is for Commissioner Begic. Is there a reason why it's all going to the health department and not maybe, partially split like with the sheriff's department and stuff? Did they?
There's some talk about, yes, the sheriffs are in there too, because they want to get their portion of the money for enforcement.
But all the grants that have been, that we've had are all.
So it's all about the money and where the money goes. So is it going to go out to the state and the state doles out the money? Is it some going to go to the county, some to the townships, some to the cities? Still, and the state would like to get all the money and then dole it out to the local people. We don't want that though.
Yeah, if it doesn't get vetoed.
People they like.
Mr. Barsha.
After the commissioners are done, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question.
All set there, Commissioner Begic, you all done?
Yep.
Thank you. Any announcements?
I have one, I think Craig has one, if there's, I'm sure a bunch of others, but December 13th and 14th, we're having another Clear the Shelter event, and being sponsored by Bissell, so that means that all the dogs are $25. They're, the microchip, Craig?
They were in the last one. I'll get the specifics on that.
They'll be and $15 for a cat, and that will get you a nice pet that's spayed, neutered, and vaccinated, and possibly microchipped. So very good price, and hopefully we'll move a lot of animals out. We're still holding our numbers real well, around 96%, 95% adopt. So quite a bit of live release there. And I wanted to, before Craig talks about something, and I know Chairman Durancheck will want to probably weigh in as well because he's been really helping to promote it, but also want to thank Commissioner Coonan for his very, very generous offer to host a fundraiser for our animal shelter, and Craig will have the details on that, but want to thank all the commissioners for your support, especially Commissioner Coonan and Commissioner Durancheck. Teamed up to really raise the money for the animal shelter that is badly needed, so. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Yep, Craig?
Yeah, so at December 8th, from 1 to 4, Fur Fest Rock and the Rescue is hosting a fundraiser for the animal shelter, and it's going to take place on Johnson Street at Coonan's, and we're going to have, there's some prizes there, there's going to be some raffles and various things. It's going to be a good event. The should be well attended, and again, I wanted to emulate Mr. Barsh's comment and also thank Commissioner Coonan and Commissioner Durancheck for both helping in your own unique ways. It's been very appreciated, and it should be a fun event, so come on out and see us.
Commissioner Durancheck?
Just to kind of expand on it a little bit, received some really nice donations today from Northwoods up in Pinconning. So Marty out there in TV land, thank you very much. And come on out. Anybody needs tickets, I have some, and I'm sure Craig just happens to have a few.
And tickets will be available at the door, and how much are they?
$20.
$20.
Okay, available at the door also, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else? Anyone else? Next up.
Motion to adjourn is always in order.
Thank you.